This is a 2012 Aston Martin V12 Vantage with a 6-speed manual. It puts out 510 horsepower and it weighs a little over 3,700 pounds, so it is fairly fast. And the difference, the one cool thing, the sport mode just wakes this car up. If you're not in sport mode, it feels a little lazy and just good for around town and cruising with your wife or girlfriend. And then you put it in sport mode and it just wakes everything up. You know, your throttle inputs are super sensitive. It makes it a lot louder on acceleration. It kind of always has the pops and gargles on decel, but it really wakes this car up, and it sounds amazing. I've been driving this car for the last 3 or 4 days, and I've kind of used it as my only form of transportation, and I like it a lot. It's a really nice car. It's a big grand touring sports car, I would say, you know, big touring car. So it reminds me of my old Porsche 928, kind of along the same lines of that. Good power, not gonna be the fastest thing on earth, but it's fast, and it's also not gonna win any slaloms or anything. So this isn't a car you're like, I don't get in this car and I don't want to go straight up to the Santa Cruz Mountains and go on my favorite twisty roads. This is more of a car, I think the first thing I did with it was drive up to San Francisco along the coast, and it's perfect for that kind of stuff. It's also perfect, I took my wife to lunch the next day, and it's perfect for that. So yeah, I think you kind of review this car in a different way than you do a Porsche 911 or something like that, where it's all about steering feel and dynamics and all that stuff. This car definitely lacks the dynamics of, say, a same year Porsche 991. It would be the first year of the 991 or 997 or any of those 911s. It just lacks all the dynamics of those. It's over 3,700 pounds. It's a big V12. Sounds amazing. So that's one of the great things. I think I'm going to go through a list of high-lows. So the highs for this car, it looks beautiful. It's a beautiful design, great-looking car. This one's black on black. It's the carbon black edition, and it looks stunning. It has a manual transmission. That's a big plus. This manual transmission shifts really nicely. It's perfectly suited to this car. Power is great. Steering's pretty decent. I mean, dynamically, it goes down the road really nicely. It's not like the most fun car. It's well planted, but the body motions definitely, like when you're going through, I took it on some back roads and stuff, and it kind of bobs a little bit and takes a little bit more time to set. It's just a little slower in its motions, and I think a lot of that's just the fact that it's a big car and it weighs over 3,700 pounds, as opposed to like a Porsche 911, which is, it'll react really quickly, like a little bump, and it'll just kind of like react. This one is kind of like swaying, and you just feel that heft, and you don't feel the need to want to push it quite as hard. But it's a really fun car, and it makes you feel like James Bond, of course. So yeah, those are kind of the highs. I mean, really, it just sounds amazing, looks beautiful, and it's manual transmission. It's pretty awesome. So the lows are that it's not like the most fun car to just go out and rip through the canyons or the mountains. I think if you had this, you'd want another car for those situations, for sure. For those like morning blasts on your favorite canyon road. This car doesn't really do it for me for that stuff. But it's a great grand touring car. The bad thing about it being a touring car, which is like a car you would take from San Francisco to LA and just be in comfort and have a nice soundtrack with this motor and everything, it gets 11 miles per gallon. So I drove to San Francisco and back from Santa Cruz, and I got 11 miles per gallon, and it took a whole tank of gas. By the time I got back to Santa Cruz, before I got back to Santa Cruz, the gas light was on in the dash. So you're looking at a range of around 150 miles, which is pretty frustrating. Just the fact that it doesn't have range. So I think it should have a bigger gas tank. That would be amazing. Or it's kind of needed. And the other problem with that is that this particular model with 25,000 miles on it, and judging from what I saw on the forums, the gas cap doesn't want to open up. So the gas cap door doesn't want to open up with the button on the foot in the footwell. Luckily there is a safe a release in the trunk for that, but it also like sticks. So I guess it just needs to be lubed up or something. And then another problem with that is the gas cap. You take it off. It's a really nice, heavy kind of billet aluminum, or maybe it's cast aluminum, but an aluminum gas cap. You take it off. It's tethered to the body with like on a wire, and the gas door has a place for you to stick this male receptacle into this female part. But it's pretty sketchy, and this gas cap's heavy, and you put it there, and I guarantee people have those fall out of this hole all the time, hit the paint, nick it, scratch it, whatever. And with how much you're filling this thing up with fuel, it's bound to happen. So it's kind of a flawed design, or it's a totally flawed design. And then the interior in this thing, really nice. It's actually not really nice. It's just a pretty basic interior covered with nice leather. So it has a lot of nice leather. The gauges are pretty cool. They're like very watch looking. This center stack is disgusting. This big waterfall is a piano black, and then I guess this is a nav screen up here. I don't even know how to work it, but it kind of doesn't fit right and doesn't look finished off at all. And then being that it's piano black, it just glares everywhere and stuff. The center console area is also really big, and it takes up like a third of the cabin, which it would be nice if they could make it a little smaller. I mean, I understand the transmission and the motor and everything are right here, but I don't know, it seems like they could make it a tiny bit smaller and make the cabin a little more airy. Another low for this car is just the vision out of these windows. They're like little slits, you know. This is a really long windshield, but it's almost horizontal, so you have a little peekaboo area to look through. Really bad blind spots over your rear quarters, and I find myself kind of like driving in a hunched position just to see out the window. Besides that, it's very good at just being a car, and you kind of forget what you're in until you step on that gas and hear that big V12 roar to life. But in a lot of ways, it's just, you know, driving a normal car. But like I said, the body motions aren't very well controlled compared to a lot of other sports cars on the market. I mean, granted, this isn't a sports car, but they're also not well controlled compared to something like my Volkswagen GTI. But like I said, that could have a lot to do, and it probably does have a lot to do with just the weight. I know my Volkswagen GTI weighs like just a tad over 3,000 pounds. This thing weighs 3,750 or right around there. But besides that, it's a really fun car. It drives great, and it's fun for what it's meant to do. It does a great job at, you know, for what it is. You know, when these came out, I remember all the magazines, the headlines were 911 killer and stuff like that. Definitely not a 911 killer, not even close. It's not the same kind of car at all. Maybe the V8 Vantage is a little closer because it probably weighs a couple 100 pounds less. But I have a hard time seeing this chassis compete with a 911. You know, steering's nice. It's a little slow, but it feels, it's a really cool car, and I hope you guys enjoyed my little rant about it. Be sure to subscribe and check out our podcast for more entertaining banter between myself, Warren Madsen, Brian McQueen, and Art Cervantes, where we release a podcast twice a week talking all about cars. We've done about 385 episodes up to this point over the last 4.5 years, and we think you'll find it pretty entertaining. So check that out on iTunes, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.